how horrible it is, and so it is unbelievable.
Okay, with that, you've actually introduced our next story, and we're talking about, in the Times, Burma's democracy leader faces 5 years in jail after intruder swims to her home, and this John Yeto has crossed the lake and got into the house of Aung San Suu Kyi, and has actually stayed there for two days, which has caused this problem, and he was caught on the way back. Ahmed, what do you make of this? Was this a foolhardy thing, or is he a sinister motive behind what's going on? Why did he?
Well, it could be a setup. I mean, so either he's an eccentric, as they're saying in the press, or it could be a setup whereby they're sort of setting up the scenario where, in fact, she can't stand for the next elections. And the signal is to everybody else who might be a candidate, you know, watch out, because if you try and stand for election, you're not going to get very far, and you could get hurt.
And he is really being targeted by a lot of Aung San Suu Kyi's supporters, that, you know, he's made that a stupid thing, and he's done that stupid thing, and he's actually got her possibly a 5-year prison sentence. But, I mean, the military junta, Myo, they would have put her in somehow and not allowed her to come in, surely.
Yes, before that incident happened, we had the rumor that in Burma, military government got the plan to assassinate Aung San Suu Kyi, like they did in the past in 2003. They tried to assassinate her. Actually, first of all, Aung San Suu Kyi is our legitimate leader. People voted for her in 1990 election as our leader, but
that's the only fair elections that have been held.
One and only one free and fair election ever held in Burma. So, but military government ignored to honor the result and put her under house arrest. This is illegitimate. It is illegal. So they don't have any kinds of They shouldn't do like that.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean.
But one of the things is that within this situation as it stands, I mean, where do you feel about this guy who's just swum across and causes trouble? Because the military junta can do what they will anyway. So the fact that they want to put her in prison and so on and stop her, they would have done that anyway, wouldn't they?
Why assassinate? My opinion is this is the plot. This is the plot.
To do what?
To imprison her. Because very coincidentally, her 6 years and a house arrest will be finished on 27th of May 2009. It's like 2 weeks time. They are now finding the excuse and reason to extend her detention. According to their own so-called law, anyone cannot detain more than 5 years and a house arrest. But they break their own law by extending 1 more year extending 1 year last year.
But they could have done that again this year, couldn't they? And rather than
they just trump up a fresh charge. Yeah.
But because of the international pressure, they cannot do that. So they are now finding the other way around.
And also, I mean, one of the things that comes out within this is what's going to happen if she is in prison. Is there an alternative for instead of this particular leader?
For the junta, they know that they learned the lesson in 1990 election. They thought that their back party will win the election, but surprisingly, the Aung San Suu Kyi party won the landslide victory. And again, they are very scared of her now. They don't want to put her in public eye anymore. They wanted to hide her and lock her in the prison. So forever, I have to say. So because in 2010, they were going to hold the rich election in which they are set to win their back party. So this is their motive.
I think the thing is that she has such a high international profile that they can't just get rid of her, because if they made a martyr of her, it would just raise the situation in Burma to more attention. And therefore, really, quite cynically, they're just finding a way of keeping her out of action and neutralizing her as much as possible.
Yeah, this is regime is like plotting the plan to imprison her. This is.
But then what are you going to do? I mean, I know that in this article it's clear that the lawyers are fighting. Well, actually, they can't do that because it was he had got himself there rather than her inviting him. So technically, they're arguing this case. But if they overlook that, the military junta, you may end up having to fight elections that aren't where she's not actually going to be around to be leading those elections. So is there someone else? I mean, is it a personality situation that we've got in Burma where everything centers around her, or have we got structures in place to fight the junta?
In this case, I would like to clarify about the 2010 election. They declared themselves that they were going to hold the fresh election in 2010. But for the Aung San Suu Kyi party, they don't decide it yet whether they were going to contest in the election or not. Because if they decide to contest in the election, they need to adopt the referendum, which is unilaterally adopted by the military junta. Even, yes, of course, reach a referendum, they adopted it unilaterally. In it, the military commander-in-chief got the full authority.
Sure. And how much do you feel that the Democratic Front has actually, what have you managed to achieve, and what do you feel where will you go in the near future with all of this campaigning that you're going to be doing?
Yes. I would like to say the international pressure is very important. If we can put the international pressure on the region very collectively.
Are you talking about partly sanctions? Would you be interested in that being applied?
Yes, sanctions should be imposed and should be maintained. What I mean is here, targeted sanction, targeted to the generals and their cronies.
But all companies don't really care about this.
They have to care because, we cannot live in the isolated land. And also, once Aung San Suu Kyi said, we are born in humanity. So whatever we are doing, we need to think about the humanity.
Okay. Emma, what do you feel about, in particular, the sanctions aspect of pressure that can be put on? Do you feel that's going to have any success, or could do?
I think limited. I mean, I was in Rhodesia at the time that sanctions were imposed there. And to a large extent, people found ways of getting around them. And generally speaking, everyone suffered as a result. Insofar as there was an effect, everyone suffered, as well as the people, not just the government that had declared, independence. So I think there's a limited success, really, from sanctions. I mean, it's one way of drawing attention to the situation. I think the other thing is that in the end, any government that does not enjoy the support of the majority of its population in the end does not last. I mean, history shows that.
All right. On that point, we'll move on to our next story in The Guardian. And